Says Gemara Megillah Daf Tezayin. All the learning for this month, the month of Teves, it's been generously sponsored. The Zechanishmas Varelei Ben Rav Yaakov Zatzal whose Yarted is this month on Aleph Teves. And Mir Hashem, the entire learning should be a tremendous chos for Rav Leib and Rav Yaakov Zatzal, an incredible yid who was Zaycha to see the Chavetz Chaim, who was nifter 55 years ago. He should be a tremendous militzation for all of us and all of our learning, every daf Gemara, every word of Torah, as we are basically concluding the first parak of Megillah, should be a tremendous chos for Rav Leib and Rav Yaakov. It should be to a higher and higher place in Gan Eden Shalmaila. As well as all the learning should be as Chashidach V'Yisrael in the version Mirah Sidush and Lesbian Makil Mercha V'Zashin Zikah V'Zashin Shimon Ben Chayshon Ben Libi Zahava. As well as the chos for Shleim Shulmin in the Man of Vega Chaim Yisrael Sin Reis the Sarbas Canantic the Basim As Chayiv Yisrael Mendel as the Birds of Shalei Shom Islam Mivish Rav Yikrish Chaim Shmot Eliel Bin Chaim Reisel Mel Chayiv Asmina Dinena Bachin Mendos Viv Vega Dvar Rivkov the Shem Tazim and Esther Amar Ben Yaakov Pesach Shar Chayle Yisrael. We pick it up. We're on Tesvav and Beis. We're approximately 10 lines to the bottom. The first one line is Vayisaper Lahem Haman. We're in the 5th parak. We're in the thick of the story. We're in the thick of Esther inviting Haman to the feast, and of course we know the end of the story. But the incredible midrashim and pshatim that come out in our Gemaras are absolutely astounding. Says the Gemara by Sabrlem Haman Eskavoid Ashray, and Haman recounted the glory of his wealth and V'roiv Banov, and how many children he had. Says the Gemara, V'roiv Banov. The Kamaroi Banov. How many children did Haman have? Amarav Lamid. He had 30 children. Asara Mesu, 10 died. Basara Nilu and 10 were hung with him. Basara Machzir and Alapsachim, and 10 went around begging for food. For Rabban and Amri, no, there were really 70, so there were 90 in total. I'll think we Savayim El Shivim. From Barabba Amar, Kulam Masai Mushmainim Avi, there were 208 children to Haman Shnemar, Viroiv Abanav, Viroiv Bigamachir Masayin, Viroiv Banav. So there were Roiv, Gamachir 208, so she had 208 children. Says the Gemara, you always have to check the Gamachir. Viroiv, Avav, Vav bees, the ratio is 200, 2 Vavs is 12, is 212, and 2 is 214. Is 214. So I tell me it's 208. Answers the Gemara without that Vav, and that's how we get 208. And continues the Gemara, continue the story in the Megillah. That night, what happened? The king's sleep was disturbed. Says the Gemara famously, Hashem, the king of the world, his sleep was disturbed. Said the Rabbanan, the celestial creatures were up above, were stirred, and the earthly creatures, Achashverosh, was stirred down below. Rava Amar Shnas HaMelech Achashverosh Mamish. Why? Nafla Milsa B'daite, in the middle of the night. Achashverosh says, wait, 1 second. Amar Mande Kama Dizmante Esther LaHaman. Why did Esther invite Haman? I don't understand. What's she thinking? You know what? Says Achashverosh, 1 second. Says Achashverosh, maybe they're conspiring against that person, referring to himself, the Makale, to kill him. Hadamar, says Achashverosh, Yachi, Lavi Gavra the Racham Li, Davai Maidali. Is it not one person that likes me that's going to tell me of the plot? What's going on? So he's middle of the night and he's thinking, he's racking his brain. Why did he invite Haman? Wait, maybe she invited Haman because they're trying to kill me. If they're trying to kill me, why does no one tell me? Why does no one like me? Hadamar, so he thought again, he said, Delma Ika Inish Davar Beit Tivusov La Barate. Maybe there was someone else that did something good for me, Achashverosh. I never paid him back, and Mishamachi, and therefore Minni and Shivla Galilee, and therefore people aren't telling me the plot. So he's thinking, is there anyone I did something for that I didn't pay them back? They did for me, excuse me. And they were read. It doesn't say they read them. It says, and it was read. It says it read it on its own. And they found rain in the Divrei Yamim. Ask the Gemara, should say kasav, or writing, not vayimotze. Kasov means writing, meaning it sounds like it's active right now. It's being written. It should have said it was written. Says the Gemara, the teaches melamed as we turn over to Tezayin Amar Aleph Shimshi Moichek. That Shimshi, who Rashi points out, who's a Sefer HaMelech, the scribe of the king who hated the Jews, he's busy erasing Mordechai's name from the royal documents. Gavriel, Kaisiv, and the Malach Gavriel is there and writing it back. Amar Ravasi Darsh of Shila Ishkvar Tarmusa. On my cause of Shalamat Zuchra Yisrael Nimchak. What do we see? We see that if down below in this world, that when there's a schos, when someone does something good, it can't be erased. Gavriel himself flies down to rewrite it. And certainly we should always remember that anything good that's recorded above certainly will never be erased. And continues the Gemara, nothing has been done for him. Achashverosh asks, what did I do for Mordechai? And they answer, nothing. They didn't say this because they loved Mordechai. They hated Haman even more. Says the Gemara, so what happened? He had prepared for him. So it says that Haman's on the way in to tell the king that he made the gallows. Heichen Loi, he prepared for him. Tana says, Loi Heichen, he really prepared it for himself, that Haman is making the gallows. At that moment is being written that he himself is going to be the one that's going to go on those gallows. Then what happens? Achashverosh says to Haman, what should the king do that needs to honor someone? And what does Haman respond? Get the horse and get all the good stuff. And Achashverosh says to Haman, Va'asa kain leMordechai, do it to Mordechai. Amar lei, Haman says, Manu Mordechai. Who's Mordechai? Amar lei, says Achashverosh, Hayudi, the Jew. Amar lei, says Haman, 1 second. Tuva Mordechai, it's a pretty common name. There's many Mordechais, the Biyudai and the Jews. Amar la, says Achashverosh, Hayoshi b'shar melech, Mordechai that's sitting at the gate of the king. Haman, the Mordechai. Amar lei, Sagili b'chad, Disik rasa, Inami b'chad nahara. Says the Gemara that Haman responds, Sagli b'chad d'zikrasa. Haman says that Achashverosh, you know what? Give him chad d'zikrasa. Give him one village. Hinami b'chad nara. Give him one river. You know, I take it back. I told you should give him this whole pomp and this whole fanfare. Nah, you don't need to do that, Achashverosh. Give him a little city, a little river. Responds Achashverosh, good idea. Amar lei, hanami ha'ivlei. Give him that also. Don't just give Haman the first. Don't just give Mordechai the first thing you said. Give him also the river and the village. Al tapel davam mikolish artibartu. Do not detract from one thing that we spoke. So what happens? Haman has no choice. He takes the clothing and the horse. He finds Mordechai and the Rabbanan are sitting by learning by Haman. Rabbanan are learning by Mordechai. Mordechai is busy showing them. We learned the Gemara even the difficult malacha of kemitza, the 3 fingers, and you able the top and the bottom. The Rabbanan keep the chazi Mordechai dapik lekablei v'suzei miechad. Mordechai gets nervous. Biyadei Mir says he's nervous. Amar lul Rabbanan hay rishil mikdal nafshekasi. He must be coming to kill me. Get out of here. Also zilu makmei. So Mordechai tells all the Rabbanan to leave him. Diloi sichlu begachalta. So you shouldn't be burned up by his cold. It's bad enough. Haman's coming to get me, says Mordechai, but you guys get out, telling the Rabbanan. But Yishait and Isadi Mordechai become later to Slusa. So Mordechai sees Haman approaching, he tells everyone to scramble, puts on his talus, and he gets up to daven. Asan Haman, Haman has nothing to do. Mordechai is davening. V'yasavlei Kamayo, and Haman sits there waiting for Mordechai. V'arech the selling Mordechai, the Slusa, till Mordechai finishes davening. Amr leho b'maya skiku. Haman says to Mordechai, what are you doing? Amr lei bismancha beis hamikdash kayom. Man dimanad the mincha when the Beis Hamikdash was around, says Mordechai, one who brings the carbon mincha flour. Ma'asemili kimsa the sultan mischaber lei. He brings a fistful of flour and he causes the kapara. Amar lehu. Haman responds to Mordechai, Asa mili kimsa kamcha. Your fistful of flour has come. Didchu v'dachi asara alfi kikari kasva didi, and pushed away my 10,000 talents of silver that I try to buy to destroy Klal Yisrael. Your fistful of flour has been me. Amar lei, Mordechai responds, Rasha, Haman, you wicked person. If a servant buys something, who does it belong to? Amar lei, come, meaning what's Mordechai saying? Haman, I bought you, you're my slave. So if you bought something, I own it. What are you talking about? What happens? Amar lei, so says Haman, get up, come levush hani mani, wear this clothing, and get on this horse. Why? Because the king wants you to do all this wonderful thing. Amar lei, said Mordechai, I'm sorry. Says Mordechai, I can't go. I first have to take a shower. I have to get a haircut. I can't go to the king like this. It's inappropriate. I'm going to wear the royal garments, and without getting a shower first. 3 lines of the wide lines. Shadr Esther Bastarta Lekuli Beibani. Esther sent out a message, and all the bathhouses were closed. Lekuli Omne, and all the haircut places, the barbers, were closed in English. So what happened? Haman himself went and bathed Mordechai. V'aizel v'aisei zuzim me'basei, and Haman goes out to get a scissor. V'kashalkal bei mazye, and he cuts Mordechai's ear. V'hadi t'kashalkal bei, as Haman is cutting Mordechai's ear, in gid v'isnach, he groans, he cries out. Haman feels like such a fool. He's sitting there giving Mordechai a haircut. Amar le, Maika misnachas. Mordechai says, what are you groaning about? Amar le, Gavra davechashiv le lamalka mikule Rav Rusa ashtal l'shiri b'lani v'sabar. Someone who is so chashiv, I was the highest in the palace, and now I'm giving you a haircut. Again, Mordechai says, Amar le Rasha. V'lav saper shal kfar kursam ha'isa. You were the barber for many years in the village of Kursam. Dana Haman saper shal kfar kursam ha'esim mishtayim shana. Haman was really a barber for 22 years. Continues the story. After Haman finishes giving Mordechai a haircut, he dressed him in the royal clothing. So Mordechai says, he says to Mordechai, Sak v'rachaf, get up and get onto the horse. So Mordechai responds, so Mordechai says, I've been fasting for 3 days, I'm so weak, I can't climb onto a horse. So what happened? Haman bends down, and Mordechai climbs onto Haman to get onto the horse. Kitzalik, as he's getting up, boom! But he kicks Haman. Amar le, says Haman, like Siv L'chut, does it not say, B'nafalei v'echal tismach? Don't rejoice in the downfall of your enemy. So Haman says, you got to kick a man that's down. Amar le, Mordechai responds, Hani v'di b'Yisrael, that's a Jew. Avu b'tizchu, but an evil guy like yourself, that we should trot upon you when you're even down on the floor. Continues the Gemara, what did Haman do? Says Haman, this should be done to the man that the king wants to honor. As he was passing by his own house, what happens? So the daughter of Haman sees, what does she see? She sees that Haman's here and the horse is here and they're yelling. So she thinks, who's riding? Must be my father. My father's the best Haman. He must be riding the horse. Mordechai. Must be Mordechai is pulling my father Haman. So what she do? She doesn't stop and take the garbage. She takes the chamber pot. She takes the porter body. And she throws it down to the man leading the horse, thinking it's Mordechai, and who really was it? Haman. And Haman lifts up his eyes. The daughter sees that she just threw the chamber pot, all the feces and excrement on her father. Megillah aro mesa. She falls out the window and she dies. Mordechai returns after this incredible show back to the gate of the king to finish his fasting in Amarav Sheishes. Mordechai went back. He had to finish his 3 days of fasting. And Haman himself goes back home. He's mourning on his daughter, and his head is covered. What had happened to him, literally covered with the worst in the world. So what happens? Continues the story. Haman tells to his wife and to all his friends exactly what happened. Says the Gemara, they called him his friends and they called him his wise men. Why? Even Gaimer called wise. And Mizar Yehudim Mordechai continues the psukim. His Mordechai is from the Jews. So what do they tell Haman? They told Haman, if Mordechai is from other tribes, you could win Haman. Forget it. You're never going to be able to beat Mordechai. The other three, Ephraim, Menashe, and Binyamin. So says that the wise men to Haman, don't even try. Continues the wise men to Haman, they're going to fall before him. To what do they say to him? The Yidden are like dirt, or the Yidden are like stars. When they fall, Yarden not off, they go all the way down to the dirt. But when they go up, they rise to the stars. Said Haman, don't even try it, you're going to lose. Continues The psukim, so the wise men are talking to Haman. Where's Haman? He just came home. He's covered with all the poop and the excrement and the feces from the chamber pot that his daughter threw on him. And he's middle of having discussion, seeing is there any way he could beat Mordechai. And what happens? And the chamber and the maids of the king come, say, Haman, you got to come to a party. You're invited to a party with the king Achashverosh and the queen Esther. And they hurried him. They brought him confused. He didn't even get a chance to shower. He's covered head to toe, and they whisk him off to the party. And the king, so what happens? They're sitting at the feast, sitting at the banquet, and Esther finally says, "For kinimkru ani v'ami, I my nation have been sold. For there's no adversary that's concerned with the king's damage." Amr Allah, he explains the Gemara. Esther says, "This adversary, this evil person, Haman, is not concerned with the damage. He was jealous of Vashti, and you killed Vashti. Now Haman is jealous of me, and he wants to kill me." And Achashverosh says, and he says to Esther Malka, "Musa, who's this person?" Why do you say Vayomer 2 times? Originally, as he's talking to Esther, he spoke with the translator. But then when Esther says that she's of royal descent, she came from Shaul, came into Amr Alei. I come from Shaul, Miyad Vayomer Esther Malka. Now Achashverosh talks directly to Esther and continues the story about Haman Arazet. This man, this evil man, Haman. Amr Avalazim Alamed Jason Mechavek Klape Achashverosh. Malach Visata Yad Klape Haman, and pushed her hand towards Haman. And the king gets up in his anger. We're 8 lines to the bottom of the Amud to Zayin Amud Aleph. And the king goes for a stroll into the garden. And the king returns back from the garden. Leaving to coming. He left in anger. He came back in anger. When he left, what do you see? As he walks out of the palace, he's trying to calm down. He just hears that this Haman wants to kill Esther. He's walking out. What does he see? He sees angels. Didn't like a Gabriel that look like people. And what are they doing? They're busy uprooting trees in his royal garden. And he says, "What are you doing? Why are you ruining my garden? What are you uprooting the trees?" They said, Haman told it to us. So he's so angry, and he walks out and he sees these people like, "Oh, by the way, Haman told us to rip up your whole garden." The worst day getting worse. So Achashverosh comes back to his palace. Haman noifel halamita. And Haman is falling on the bed on Esther. Noifel? Nafal mi ba'ileh. Say he fell. What do you mean he's actively falling? Amar Avalazar Malami Shabbat Malach ve'pilu alav. The Malach came and the Malach pushed him on to Haman. Amar vai mi beisa vai mi bara. Says the Gemara, what happened that Achashverosh says, "Woe is mi beisa vai mi bara." Outside and inside. Outside they're destroying my garden, and inside you're falling on my wife. The famous words, "You're falling on my wife in front of me inside the palace." That's what you're doing. What happens? Charvaina speaks. Charvaina was really part of Haman's team, says the Gemara, 4 lines in the bottom. But as he's seeing the tables are turning and he sees Haman quickly falling, he runs away from Haman, and all of a sudden he's on the other team. That your enemy, what's going to happen? You're going to lose all your friends, and they're going to flee to the other side. And the pasuk continues that the king's anger calmed down. There were 2 calming down. That Hashem and Achashverosh. He calmed down both in Esther and Vashti. Continues the psukim. Lekalem. So we take a pause to the Purim story for a moment, and we go into the psukim by Yosef. That Yosef gave Binyamin 5 shirts, and to the rest of the brothers he gave 1. Ask the Gemara. Of course, this is going to all come back around in a moment. Is it possible that the same thing that happened to Yosef HaTzadik, the matter that he himself caused him to be sold, as we turn over to Zayin and Beis and explains the Gemara, Yikashal Mashal Boy. He got the Ksainis Pasim. Now he's doing the same thing. He's causing jealousy with Binyamin. Because of the extra 2 Slaim of his Kota. Ksainis Pasim, Milas, Shoisev, Yaakov, the Yosef, the Yaakov, the Yosef, Misharachim, the Skagala, Davar, Yardav, Silim, Mitzrayim. That caused the whole story. So now what's he doing? He's repeating the same issue. Explain is the Gemara 5 lines down. Rabbi Binyamin Bar Yefes, Remez Loi. Ramaz Remez Loi. Yosef is making a hint. Sha'asid Ben Lefteis Mimenu Shatzim Lefnei HaMelech Chamish Levushay Malchus. That you're going to have a descendant, Binyamin, that's going to go in front of the king with 5 garments. Shenamar, what we just saw. Omor L'Chayavesh Yotza, excuse me, Bulvash Malchus Chiz V'chor Gaman, etc. The 5 different kingly garments. Vayipol. Now a little bit more about the story with Binyamin. Vayipol al Savari Binyamin, and he fell. When Yosef met his brothers, he falls on the neck of Binyamin, Echav, his brother. Kama Tavar Navle Binyamin. Tavari is plural. He fell on the 2 necks of Binyamin. How many necks did Binyamin have? Amar Rav Elazar, Bachal Shnei Makdashin. He cried of the 2 Beis Hamikdash. Asin Lios Bachalku Shal Binyamin. That's going to be in the portion of Binyamin. Asin Lichar is going to be destroyed. O Binyamin Bachal Tavarov. And Binyamin cried in Yosef's neck. Bachal Mishkan Shiloh Shasel Lios Bachalku Shal Yosef Vasel Licharev. And he cried in the Mishkan that's going to be destroyed. V'hinei Enechem. Now another pasuk about the story with Yosef and his brothers. V'necham rois, v'einei achei Binyamin. The pasuk says, your eyes see as my eyes see my brother Binyamin. Amar Rav Elazar Amar Lahem. Yosef tells his brothers, calm down. Kishem she'ein belibi al Binyamin. Just like I had nothing bad against Binyamin. He didn't sell me, Achi, my brother, shleisav b'mechirasi, because he wasn't there when you sold me. Kach ein belibi aleichem. He says, bros, I got nothing against you. I'm fully clean. I fully forgive you. Kipi amadaber aleichem, kipi Kain Libi, so too the mouth that speaks to you, Kipi, like my mouth, Kain Libi, so too is my heart. I do not hold a grudge at all against you. And then Yosef sends his father, Yaakov, he sends his father 10 chabarab, 10 donkeys laden with the toiv, the best of Mitzrayim. He sends him old wine, old wine warms the body, says the Mefarshim. That's why he sends it to Yaakov to give him some hanav. So what happens? The brothers come in and they fall in front of Yosef. This is the famous phrase, the pasuk in the Mishnah Navos. The fox in his hour, you bow to him. So all the brothers bow to Yosef HaTzadik. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Tala, a fox? Why is Yosef lower than his brothers? When we say that a fox in his hour, we're saying a fox, even though he's not the head of the jungle, bowed him. But why is Yosef lower than his brothers? Says the Gemara, you know what this means? No, it's a different reference. Yisrael, Yaakov Avinu bows to the head of his bed. What does this refer to? In the second wide line, Yaakov Avinu is bound to his own son. Why? Because his son is now in charge. His son is the king of the world. So we bow to him. Yosef sees his brothers are still afraid. Yosef comforts them and he speaks to the heart. He said words that were accepted upon their heart. He says to his brothers, calm down. You 10 incredible Jews, you 10 Eiros couldn't extinguish my one Ner. You think Ner Echad I'm going to be able to extinguish you. Do not be worried, I completely forgive you. And now we get back into the Megillah. We're actually almost concluding the Megillah, which will conclude tomorrow when we conclude the first parak. Says the Gemara, we're 3 lines into the very wide lines. 4 incredible things the Jews got after the salvation. What were these 4 things? Explains the Gemara, these were in relation to the 4 decrees that were made against the Jews. Sasan zu milav chenu amer sasan ochel amer secha v'yarkei l'tfil chenu amer v'rokel ha'aretz kishem Hashem nikra yilecha v'yaru mimeka. So the 4 things, the 4 decrees against the Yidden before this were what? They couldn't learn Torah, they couldn't have Yantiv, they couldn't have Tefillin, and they couldn't have Bris Milah. And with their salvation, they got these 4 mitzvahs back. And we continue in the Megillah that who were the 10 sons of Haman, Ves Parshan Dasa, the Goymer, Asaris B'nei Haman, Amar Ravada de Minyafa, Asaris B'nei Haman, Ve'asaris, Saruk Lamer Menashia Achas. You have to say all 10 sons of Haman and the word Asaris in one Neshima. Of course, we know that the minig is we start from Chamesh Me'os Ish. We start a little bit further back in the pasuk. And that is together with the 10 sons of Haman and the Aseres is all in one breath. My taima. Don't think they were killed one after another. No, all their neshamas left collectively as one. The vav of the word vaisasa has to be longer. Kimarida de livris, like the pole of livris. These were the poles that they used to row in the water. My taima kulu b'chad. My taima. Here he goes. Kulu b'chad zekifa is that kifu. Says the Gemara, the reason being because they all were hung on one pole, and therefore we're making the pole of Aizasa longer. Amar Avchina bar Papa Darsh Rav Shila Yishkavar Tamrasa. Kol Ashirais Kulum Nechtavan Ariach Agabi Levino. All the shirais in the Torah are written like bricks. A half brick on a big brick, Levino Agabi Ariach, a small and then a large one. Staggered like the bricks of a house. 2 small bricks, a large one in the middle. 2 small bricks, a large one in the middle, etc. Chot Mizur Zumal Umalchi Kanan. This Shira, the Megillah and the Malchi Kanan are written differently. Shariach Agabi Ariach, Levino Agabi Levino. You have a half brick, half brick, half brick. We know that the 10 sons of Haman are written in a row down the side, and you have a double brick in the middle open. My timer shall take kumala mabalasas. They don't have somewhere to grab hold of. We don't want to have a brick for them to stand on. And just to point out from here, an incredible halacha is brought out that it says that you have to have the half bricks and you have to have the double brick open in the middle. And this is actually an halacha. Many Megillahs I don't want to say make a mistake, but it's much better to be this way, says the Mishnah Brura, that the 10 sons of Haman, the space in the middle should be twice as big as the words of Haman on the side. You'll see a lot of the more expensive Megillahs, it's not the tremendous words of Haman, they're big, but the space in the middle is much bigger that is empty. And now the king says to Esther Malka, we're now in the medium lines after that taste over there. The king says to Esther the queen that in Shushan they killed the Jews killed. The Malach came and hit the Achashverosh on the mouth. We see this from the pasuk. It sounds like he starts talking negative. And then at the end he says, Esther, what do you want? What's going on over here? What do you mean? And Esther comes before the king, and he said with the letter, with the whole plot of Haman, etc., etc. What does it mean? Amar, Amrami Baile. It's Esther talking. Amar Rav Yechon, Amra Loi, Ye Amar Bepeh Mashkasa B'Sefer. We learn from over here, we darshin that you should say what's written, that you can't lay in the Megillah Baal Peh. You have to read it from the script. Divrei Shalom ve'emes says the words of the Megillah, words of Shalom, peace, ve'emes, and truth. Amar Rav Tanchon, v'amir Amar Rav Asi Melamed, shetzricha sirtat kamita shel Torah. Just like the amita shel Torah, just like the Torah itself needs sirtat, the lines that are etched into the klaf before you write the Sefer Torah, so too Megillah needs those lines. Umaimer Esther Kayim, and continues the psukim in the Megillah that the words of Esther validated all the different rules, all the different halachas of Purim. Maimer Esther in Divrei Atamais Lai. Ask the Gemara, what's going on? Only the words of Esther, but not the fast itself. Amar Rav Yechlan, you have to read the pasuk a little differently. The previous word from the previous pasuk, Divrei Atamais, Umaimer Esther Kayim. And we continue in the Megillah, Estivr Es Yemei Purim Ha'ila, these words of Purim. And now, finally, Ki Mordechai HaYehudi Mishnah LaMelech HaChashverosh V'Gadol Yehudim Ratzah L'Roi V'Echad. Says the pasuk Mordechai Yehudi was the Mishnah LaMelech. And he was Gadol HaYehudim, he was a great Jew, and he was V'Ratzi L'Roi V'Echad, and many people liked him. L'Roi V'Echad, V'lo L'Kolech, and not everyone liked Mordechai. Melamed, Shepir Shemimenu mixes Sanhedrin, part of the Sanhedrin left Mordechai. Now the Gemara explains why, what happened. Mordechai saved all of Klal Yisrael, and we end with this, a startling statement. Amar Rav Yosef, Gadol Talmud Torah, you know how great learning is? Yaitzer Me'asalos Nefesh is even greater than saving a life. They Meikara Chashach Le Mordechai B'Seif Dalet. Originally Mordechai was lifted after 4 members of Sanhedrin. He was 4th. Ulb'Seif Bas Chamisha Meikar Iksev Shabo Am Zerubbabel Yeshua Nechemia Saria Ralia Mordechai Belashan Ulb'Seif Ksev Habayim Zerubbabel Yeshua Nechemia Azariel Ramiam Nechemia Mordechai Belashan. So what do we see? We see that Mordechai lost his stature. Again, originally what it says, Yeshua Nechemia Saria Ralia, and then Mordechai. He was number 5. Then it says Yeshua Nechemia Azariah Ramaya Nechemia, and then Mordechai became number 6. So even though, think about this for a moment, even though Mordechai saved the entire Klal Yisrael, still he didn't learn. There was that some element that his level of learning lessened, so he was lowered in his place in Sanhedrin. So Gadol Talmud Torah, as we're learning a Daf Gemara, we have to internalize and realize every word of Torah is so great, even greater than saving a life. How incredible it is if you could save a life. CPR, life-saving tactics to save a life. When you learn a Daf Gemara, says our Gemara today as we conclude, is even greater than that. We'll pick up from here, Mir Tashem, in the next year.